Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me on the show to look back over the weekend's Scottish Premiership results and look ahead to a week where, of course, Rangers in European action in Istanbul against Fenerbahce. So lots to talk about. Rangers takeover nearing completion. Fergie with work to do at Ibrox. Celtic getting ever closer to the title, and sunshine on Leith for Hibs is the only way to sum up the Edinburgh Derby, and what an occasion it was. We are going to talk about that. All you have to do is give us your opinion on your favourite team or any of the burning issues. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll try and give as many of you a mention as possible over the course of the show. So with that in mind, the takeover nearing completion, US investors have apparently agreed in principle. So it's all about due diligence now, Tam McManus.
Yeah, it is, and I think that could possibly take a while. I think when you look at the financial figures of Rangers over the last, not only season, but 10 seasons, I think they've lost over £100 million and 17 million last season. So, I mean, you need to have deep pockets to come in and invest in a club like Rangers. I think the shareholders are prepared to sell their shares, it looks like. So, listen, they'll try and get the best price they can for their shares, but as I said, I think there'll be a period of looking into the accounts and seeing that if it's a viable, business proposition, and it seems that it will be for them, because everything seems positive and basically agreed.
We've already discussed, Alison, the platform of why they would be doing it, with Champions League, the potential for money to be made there. Even if in the future there was a Super League, they would have a club that possibly they'd want to be involved in. And Parag Marat, president of San Francisco 49ers investment arm, will look at all the figures and say to himself, well, here are the opportunities. As Tam mentioned, there are various things that he'll be digesting. One is buying out shareholders, but obviously looking at some of the debt that they're going to have to clear off, and then working out how much it's going to take to, for me, completely overhaul that squad.
Yeah, I think so. I think it needs to be overhauled from top to bottom. I think it's not just on the park, but off it too. I think what you've seen is a paucity of quality, a lack of any cohesion, poor recruitment. I think there are a lot of people behind the scenes who have to take a bit of responsibility for where Rangers now find themselves on the park. I think it needs to be, there almost needs to be a cultural change within the club, but certainly what you're seeing just now on the park, the evidence that presents in front of your eyes now in terms of performances is just indicative of what's going on behind the scenes. It's just chronic mismanagement from top to bottom.
What do you mean cultural change?
I think right now what you have is a club that's had no real identity, direction, strategy. What has been the recruitment strategy that's there at Rangers? I think if you look across the city, it's very easy to see what it was at Celtic. It has had positive results. I think if you look at Rangers, going back a couple of seasons to not selling the likes of Ryan Kent, Morelos when offers came in for them, not selling players at the right time, recruitment just not entirely convincing when it comes to bringing in players that suit the Scottish League, that suit the way that Rangers play. I think there have been very few success stories in terms of being able to buy players and sell them on. There'll be one or two that have worked, but by and large, it's not been a successful strategy at all. When you look at performances on the pitch, the return in terms of silverware is vastly removed from where a club like Rangers would expect to be.
And with that in mind, Ruffy, two elements to this story before we start to talk about Rangers on the park right now. One is that they've cleared out quite a lot of people. There will undoubtedly, if there was a new owner, he would come in and try and move out people that he didn't, or they didn't see as part of the plan. But I think, overall, when you eventually take on a club like Rangers, there's two elements to it. One is they're not going to be spending millions upon millions upon millions that some Rangers fans think they will be spending. And the second part of it is if they get 51% and then even more of it as a club, they become a business to the business people who take over. And then I think Rangers, and that's why I asked you about culturally, because I think Rangers, when they're taken over by a company out with Scotland who are not part of what I would call the tapestry of the history of Rangers, the club will change.
There's no doubt about that. I think the Rangers supporters have to buy into that. You know, I think American owners in particular have a real fixed idea of what they want to do and what change they want to make. You know, we saw the boy up at Aberdeen, he was wanting kick-offs at 7:30 at night and 10 o'clock. And so the Rangers supporters are going to have to buy into the aspect of how the American owners want to take the club forward. It's going to, I'm not saying it's going to lose its tradition or anything like that, but it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be all Rangers people in there all singing for them the same hymn sheet. They're going to have owners coming in now and want to do it their way, not the Rangers way.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us your thoughts on that takeover. Nearing completion is the latest story that's come out from it. If you're a Rangers fan, are you excited by that? Do you get the feeling that this could be a transitional time, certainly in the summer, and then massive change, and then the potential to really challenge Celtic? Give us your views on that. As far as the Premiership over the weekend, here's the results, and here's where Rangers fit into that. It was Dundee 1, St Johnstone 1, Rangers 1, Motherwell 2, Ross County 1, Kilmarnock 0, St Mirren 2, Celtic 5, Hibs 2, Hearts 1, and Aberdeen 2, Dundee United 2. So there's lots to talk about. Of course, the honeymoon period didn't last too long. Barry Ferguson himself, watching that defeat to Motherwell, said that there's a lot of work to do.
I'm not going to sit here and try and kid people on. Look, that level of performance, certainly in the first half, is nowhere near the standards that are needed. And it's my job now in this short period of time. But look, do you know what? I'm not going to just go and I'm going to work my backside off to make sure this gets sorted. I spoke to them in the dressing room. They understand it. Listen, Rangers fans can't accept you not playing well. What Rangers fans can't accept is when your team get run over the top in the first 45 minutes.
Well, if you have 4 days to work with them, which is not a lot, I'm going to cut him some slack on this, but he was adamant they had a clear message, but still went out and didn't follow the plan.
No, they didn't. I think they'd be obviously overjoyed by the second half performance at Kilmarnock, you know, and obviously the leading up to the game with everything that was going on before the game, Barry coming out and meeting the home fans and everything that was going on. It looked as if for that day it was going to be a stroll in the park and everybody getting behind each other. But obviously the first 45 minutes, as he just said there, was an absolute shocker. You have to give Motherwell a wee bit of credit. I think they pressed Rangers quite well, but Motherwell got the goals and it was very evident. Everything that Barry said there, Clement's been saying, he can't get 90 minutes out of this team, and that's the problem.
Yeah, Brian says, Peter, on Friday, you and your cheerleading panel were fawning over Barry Ferguson after one game as manager. For balance, are you going to be very critical and highlight how poor both he and Rangers were? Well, again, I'm going to offer balance, Brian.
Bombs it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to offer balance, Brian, because clearly you only listen to what you want to hear on it. And that's quite simply, he's had a week to work with a team of underachievers, of failures, because they have failed miserably domestically. And he's looked at it and it's become so apparent and clear to him that on the evidence of the first 45 minutes, and first 35 possibly, at Rugby Park, and the evidence of being at Ibrox Park on Saturday, they're woeful.
Yeah, I don't think it's the manager. I don't think it was Philippe Clement. I don't think it's Barry Ferguson. I think it's the squad of players. They're not good enough. They can't handle the pressure of playing for Rangers. They can't handle, having to go and win week in, week out, especially at Ibrox when you come out and there's 50,000 people expecting you to win. That pressure, you've got to have a strong mentality. I remember obviously speaking to Barry about this, and Barry said there was a lot of really, really good players that came into Rangers and they couldn't handle that aspect of having to win every game. And maybe 10, 15 minutes into the game, still 0-0 and fans are moaning. They couldn't handle that, and you've got to have a strong mentality to do that. I just don't feel Rangers have got enough players with that mentality that can go and get on the ball and take a game with the scruff of the neck and deal with that expectation level of the supporters. And that's the problem. I think in Europe, their teams come and attack them and there's less pressure on Rangers to win in Europe. Here, domestically, you know, having to win games, being massive favourites to win games. They just can't handle it, and that's the big issue for me. So, listen, I think obviously Barry's got to take some sort of the blame, but you can't. Individual errors. I don't know what's happened with Jack Butland this season, Ruffy. I mean, I'd say a season 18 months ago, they were talking about 10, 15, 20 million pound for him. I mean, he has been terrible this season as well. I know a real basic error and gives Motherwell the lead. So, yeah, I just think defensively they're poor. 4 goals they've lost now in 2 games, and they got away with it during the week. They come back and win the game, but at home they didn't get away with it the weekend. So, yeah, I thought they were a really, really poor performance, and that feel-good factor at Rangers under Barry has lasted all of, 3 or 4 days.
With all due respect, Ruffy, I mean, come on, this is a team of professional footballers. I watched the game. Some of them couldn't even make a 5-yard pass. And when you have a goalkeeper, I mean, that is it wasn't even a hard shot. No. It's a ridiculous goal.
No, he's away ahead of himself. No, and he's already caught the ball, and he's thinking about who's going to give it to next, and he's just taking his eye off the ball, and unfortunately it's rolled to one of their players. I mean, you could see his face when he did it. He knew it was horrendous. One of the ones that you just want to dig a hole and hope it hadn't happened. But I'm not blaming him for all it. I think the chop. I always think when you're a goalkeeper, you're a lot more confident with the 2 guys in front of you. If the 2 guys in front of you are consistent centre halves, you get to know their strengths and their weaknesses. You get to know when they can help you and when you can help them. Unfortunately for Rangers all year, it's been different centre halves all year. You know, they've not had a settled 2 in the middle. But that's not. I agree with. I've said that. I agree with Tam. I just don't think the players that are coming to Rangers are players that have handled the pressure before.
Yeah,
I really don't. And it is. I mean, it's hard to explain having to win every game in front of 50, 60,000 people, because some fans aren't tolerant. They don't get you. And if you go into your shell, you're that kind of person who can't deal, hardened by being at teams, you know, when you're down and you've got to sort of pick yourself up. You then need guys running about you who have done it, and there's none of them there either. There's none of them. Yeah. They're all sort of individual players who just want to do their own wee bit and get the pat in the back, and they're not collective at all over the park.
It's a team severely lacking in winners.
Yeah.
And leadership.
Winners and leaders. There's none in that Rangers dressing room, and that's why they're struggling.
To be fair, the board did mention that the trouble runs deep, Alison. It goes way beyond the manager. In the end, I think Philippe Clement just, whatever he said fell on deaf ears, because he just started to talk in riddles that people were not accepting. There's a strange thing, and it's a divisive nature of Barry Ferguson. We've witnessed it firsthand, Ruffy, because we had him. We worked for us for 3 years, as you well know, Ali. And like Neil Lennon, at times he can be a fairly divisive character. And Ball's here, who says, why did you say on the show after the first game that he should be given the job full time? Did anybody on this show say Barry Ferguson should be given the job full time?
The question of Barry
gets... He did particularly well at the end of the season. People would have decisions to make. Yeah. We never said.
Yeah, what we said was that depending on what he does between now and the end of the season will be... is whether or not he becomes part of the conversation about who gets the job. That was a discussion. There was never a discussion that he's going to get the job. But I think you're right. I think the club wanted to eke out Philippe Clement until the end of the season, knowing there's a new manager, there's a new structure going to be in place. Patrick Stewart has already said there's going to be a director of football or a sporting director coming in. That's who'll be responsible for a managerial appointment, or who will have a very considerable say in the managerial appointment. I think they wanted to maybe get to the end of the season. The noise around the club became too much when you had the defeat to Queen's Park, which no one would have expected, and then the home defeat to St Mirren last weekend, and then that forces a hand where you're thinking, look at all these masses of people leaving when St Mirren score a certain goal. We have to be seen now to do something that has to just be a short-term solution to get us to the end of the season. What you're seeing now is really the evidence that the problems go deeper than a simple change of manager.
What about Kaiser, who says, what takeover? It's propaganda to sell season books at Ibrox. Now, a number of people have thrown that up. This is on our feed. This takeover for me, it better happen, or a lot of Rangers fans will become very cynical about the timing of each of these apparent announcements, which Rangers won't comment on, but somehow found their way onto the back pages of the Daily Record and on Sky after a defeat to Motherwell.
Yeah, certainly, I think there is substance to the stories. I think there's no question about that. I think it's fairly apparent that these talks are genuine talks. There's an authenticity to what is going on behind the scenes. What it may mean is less clear, I think, and what the investment may mean is less clear. Certainly, I take your point about timing. I think the gulf just now between Rangers are and where Rangers want to be is fantastic. I think it's absolutely huge. In fact, you could argue that it's the biggest it's ever been in terms of where they should be as a club, or certainly where they perceive themselves to be as a club and where the reality is of how they find themselves now. I think it will take money and it will take investment. I don't know what this kind of investment looks like. I don't know if any of us do yet until it becomes apparent. What you can say is that there is an authentic element to the conversation around investment.
I don't think it's to the levels that some people think. If some people think this is a change that suddenly will take on the same proportions as David Murray taking over from David Holmes and Lawrence Marlborough and suddenly just buying whoever they want and taking over the league again, I think they are heading down a road of misinformation, to be perfectly honest with you. What it does mean, if they do get that takeover through, is there will be a change in strategy, a clear business plan, and a way to work towards trying to get a successful team on the park. It doesn't happen overnight. You certainly can't empty players that are not good enough on the park. And even today, one former Rangers player, Stephen Naismith, was speaking ahead of the cup matches coming up this weekend, and he questioned some of the players and the mentality. Have they got what it takes to be able to handle the pressures at Rangers?
When it is challenging and it's nothing each with 20 minutes to go at Ibrox and the fans are demanding, who's still brave enough to make the right pass or take a shot at the right time, not just pass off the opportunity? That's the part that the players need to, grasp the opportunity. I think as a player at the Old Firm, that's, one, you need to deal with the pressure and get used to it. But secondly, you've got to see the opportunity and not be scared of it.
Well, if that's the case, then I'm looking at a number of players who should never have that jersey on, Tam.
Yeah, I think that ties into what I was saying earlier, Peter, about the mentality and the courage of players. And listen, you talk about bravery. Bravery's not going out and smashing people. It's bravery's taking the ball under pressure. And there's no bigger pressure in Scotland than playing for Celtic and Rangers. It's an enormous pressure. You've got to have a huge mentality. As Stephen said there, 0-0 or 1-0 down with 20 minutes to go, and the fans are on your back screaming, you know, to go and get an equaliser, go and get the winning goal. You've got to go and take the ball. And there's not enough Rangers players at the minute, Peter, for me, who want to take the ball. There's people that are hiding in the park. You can see it. You've seen it in the last 3 games at home. There's people who don't want the ball, don't want the responsibility. They're passing the buck, what Stephen said there. So until Rangers get players in of that ilk who can handle it, then I don't see it getting any better anytime soon.
And can I apologise unreservedly to Motherwell fans who may well look and say, wait a minute, Motherwell beat Rangers by 2-1. Any chance of giving them some credit? Absolutely 100% credit to Motherwell. They took their goals well and were able to see it out in a game against a Rangers side that at times Motherwell just played through them. It was so easy to cut them open, but you have to give consideration to Michael Wimmer, who's only just come in, similar to Barry Ferguson. He's managed to get a trick out of this Motherwell side, and he paid tribute to the courage they displayed.
Yeah, at first this is a great stadium, and before the game I really looked forward to come here, and all the atmosphere is perfect, it's brilliant, but also our fans was brilliant, and and that you can win here makes me proud, but it's not it's not my work, it's the work from the players on the pitch, and they worked like lions. They had a lot of courage, a lot of confidence, and they deserved the win, and I'm very proud of them.
Yeah, Ruffy, a word for Motherwell?
Yeah, I thought they were tremendous. I thought they put Rangers under pressure very, very early on. Yeah, they got the first goal. We've already discussed that. The second goal was the fullback's fault as well, but they still had 2/3 of the game to see it out. Yeah, Rangers had chances here and there, but he's right. You know, the Motherwell players were just throwing bodies on the line, and remarkable that I don't think at any particular time I can remember Rangers going to get something out of this game.
You said to me on Friday when I said Motherwell won't be relegated, you looked at me as if to say, oh, they're going to be sucked in.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody saw that result of the weekend happening.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think Motherwell had been playing particularly well. But again, you know, it just shows you football is a strange thing. When things you don't think it's going to happen, they happen. But I don't think...
Get relegated?
No.
At the end of the playoff?
No.
Yeah.
No, after that. The players getting that result should be enough for them to kick away for anything that's happening.
Okay, just sort of get your thoughts on it, Ruffy. St Mirren 2, Celtic 5, and the machine just keeps rolling on. Brendan Rodgers had this to say about that result. An emphatic win. I think it's one of my favourite results of the season. It's a brilliant 3 points for us. We were so good on a difficult surface. The players were very strong technically. We just need to get freshness back into our defending. Well, Maeda's having the season. Just out of curiosity, is Maeda Player of the Year?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say he'd be the favourite at the minute, Peter. There's obviously a wee bit to go, but
who's his nearest contender? Dalby?
Yeah, listen, it's hard to put your finger on.
Oh, I'm asking you. Put your finger on it.
Who else is a great season?
Dalby's the top goal scorer.
Dalby's a good season. I don't think he'd be Player of the Year. I think he'd need to score 20. It's still time for him to score 20.
Yeah.
Hibs. I
Hibs.
think Callum McGregor's had a really good season as well, scoring goals. So I think Maeda's obviously the front runner at the minute, and he's well on the way to scoring 30 goals and doesn't play all the time.
Callum McGregor.
Callum McGregor.
Thank God for that.
No, I think he's obviously at the minute he's the front runner, and as I said, he doesn't really play. He kind of changes from wide right to wide left and through the middle. So no, I think he's had a fantastic season, and if he scores 30 goals, then I think he will get it.
I think he's Player of the Year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Nicholas Kuhn might have given him a run for his money at one point in the season, but I think he's just dropped off a wee bit. I think Maeda would be a very obvious candidate at the minute.
Ruffy?
Yeah, the two that I'd be thinking about would obviously be Maeda and Dalby. I can't think of another two.
Yeah, but Paul Brady says Kuhn is the nearest challenger, Peter. Kuhn's had a good
As
season.
Alison said, he's dropped off a wee bit.
What, for a couple of games?
Yeah, but he's...
It's over the course of the season we've got...
Well, Maeda's number one.
What have we got now? 9 games left.
Well, Maeda's number one by a mile, by a distance.
Yeah.
Absolute distance.
Okay, 5-2. Yang scored a couple of goals as well.
But Yang changed the game for Celtic actually when he came on.
Yeah, is he one of those people like Kuhn that people have been too quick to pass comment on?
Potentially. I think sometimes we underestimate what it entails to come into a new club, a new culture, a new language, to a new city, to settle. All of it very new, quite alien, I would have thought, and just take your time to bed in. I think certainly what you've seen is a real improvement across him in recent performances and coming off the bench and really impacting games. I think that might come down as well to Brendan Rodgers. I think a real barometer of a good coach is seeing an improvement in players. I think you're seeing that in him, but I thought he changed the game for Celtic. I think he came on, I think he gave them a fresh energy, fresh legs. He scored 2 goals, set one up, might have had a third, but it was offside. I think he'll feel really quite emboldened by that performance, and it'll be interesting to see what chances he might get across the next couple of weeks. It looks as though it's a matter of when rather than if Celtic go and get their hands on the title. Be interesting to see what the changes in personnel might be between then now and the end of the season, and what kind of opportunity he might find himself getting.
If you listen to Brendan Rodgers, he's basically saying at times he's treating some of them with a little bit of an understanding of where they are. Jota doesn't want to put him in from the start, hasn't had a lot of games, so he can use him sporadically because domestically the season, the title's, 4 games, Ali, before we...
Is it 3 or 4?
Yeah, I think it's 4 games. Celtic can win the title, but we are in a situation where we're listening to Brendan Rodgers, always to his credit, saying when we get some players, we try to settle them in, but our priority is to try and make them better players.
Yeah, I think it's good management, Peter. I think when you're a player and you come in and you've missed a pre-season, you've not been playing much, I think if you get put in too early, the fans can judge you instantly. I think particularly at a big club like Celtic, if you'd have thrown Jota in straight away, Celtic fans would have thought, he's not the same player. You give him time to get his legs, back in training and get his sharpness up, probably the same with Yang. And listen, he's got plenty of options. He can rotate the team. I think domestically Celtic, I've got plenty in hand to go and win games. So, no, I think he's managed the players well. And when Jota's probably 100%, will put him back in and dip Yang out. But yeah, I agree with Alison. I think it's difficult coming in from a different country and and settling into the demands of a club the size of Celtic. You know, having to play well every week, having to win every week, and you know, you've seen that with Kuhn and different other players, and I think you might see that with Yang. He's really come onto a game, and he's got the confidence, I think, of the Celtic supporters now, whereas I think he was written off maybe at the start as not good enough for Celtic, same as the big boy O who left. But I think that Celtic fans are thinking, we might have a wee player here.
And the most painful thing on a weekend like this weekend, when you have an abject performance from Rangers and Celtic win and march closer to another title, which would be title number 55, you get a situation where everybody's looking at the gap, and Neil Lennon right now says it's huge.
It's a chasm, you know, and you know, I couldn't believe the result from Ibrox on Saturday, because I thought with Barry going in there, when he made the change against Kilmarnock, you know, it was a positive one. It was brave, and they got the result and the performance. And you're thinking, well, maybe there's a bit of momentum there, but they go the other way. So there's a huge fragility there in the squad, and whoever takes over, whether it be Barry or somebody else, you know, everyone talks about a rebuild. For me, it's a change of culture and psychology, really, more than anything else. I think they've got some good players there, but obviously the psychology of the team isn't right.
It was great having Neil here when he was here for a couple of years, Ruffy. But eventually, you know, once you go to PLC and you go elsewhere, you eventually go down to Premier Sports, TNT, then really down to Sky, and then ultimately other establishments.
Eventually I'll be back here.
Yeah, Ruffy. Exactly.
You know, Celtic, I thought that the end result flattered Celtic.
So did I.
Think it was a penalty?
Yes, I thought he should have been red carded as well.
Yeah.
I thought they should have went down to 10 men and St Mirren getting a
It was
penalty.
very similar to the one in Europe was it Engels against Bayern Munich, where he actually nicks the ball but follows through and goes through him, and the referee never gave it, you know, for
Maybe he went
Celtic.
to
So,
VAR.
I agree with Ruffy on it. I thought
I thought it was a penalty. That could have been a red card and a
Yeah.
penalty. So again, I think if you look at the clubs who have been most harshly treated this season in the whole league, I think St Mirren are up there.
St Mirren
You know,
definitely
my
are.
brother-in-law's a St Mirren fan, and every week he's moaning, we'll get this against us. Same again at the weekend. So, listen, Celtic Rangers make the most noise, I suppose, in terms of decisions. But I think if you're a St Mirren fan, you think to yourself, you're on 34 points at the minute. You could have 40, 41, 42 if you'd a few decisions go your way.
Yeah, I have to say this, and I hope I'm not proved wrong. I'm going to stick my neck out here. St Mirren are not going to be in the playoff or relegated.
I don't think so. I still think they've got an outside chance of making top six.
So do I. But do you know the great thing about it? I'm a huge fan of Stephen Robinson, and probably there'll be people on here shortly just absolutely caning me for that as well. But I've watched great lad. Yeah. Thanks for that, Tom. There's nothing, you know, in the modern day now, there's nothing worse than liking somebody. We live in a culture, Ruffy, where everybody hates everybody else. But Stephen Robinson, I watched St Mirren against Hearts, and I thought they played some really good football. Yes, they like to be physical and mix it up as well, but you know, that's what you do. You work out as a manager how to play teams and beat them.
Absolutely. I think they were really unlucky on Saturday night. I do think the scoreline flattered Celtic. I think, you know, like two of those goals come really late on in the game. One was in the 94th minute and one in the 87th or whatever. I think had they got the penalty and got it back to 3 each, it changes the complexion of the game entirely. I still think
It was a red card.
I don't know if it was a red card. I definitely think it was a penalty.
Yeah. Bob Miller says penalty, but no red card, no force.
Yeah, I think and I didn't think there was any intent to cause a foul. I thought, you know, he did go for the ball. I thought it was clumsy rather than anything else. I think he follows through, but I did think it was a penalty. And I think had it gone to 3-3, it asks questions of Celtic at that point in the game.
Yeah.
As it is, Celtic, you know, eventually just make it look very comfortable, but certainly I think there were passages of play in that game where St Mirren will feel as though had they just been a little bit more clinical in front of goal, a wee bit of composure in front of goal, they might have taken something. In actual fact, when it was still 0-0, Kasper Schmeichel had two fantastic saves, one from Mandron and one from Mark O'Hara that he done well with. You think if one of them goes in and you take the lead first, ask a few questions of Celtic, you don't know how it plays out, but I think they'll be encouraged by how they performed, the way they went toe-to-toe with Celtic at points, encouraged by how they played against Hearts and Rangers a week before. If you look now at their fixtures between now and the split, they should do enough. They have it within their own grasp to pick up points and get themselves into the top 6 again. And if they were to go into the top 6 for a third successive season, I think that's a remarkable return.
You know what the frightening thing for me is, Peter? I've watched the last 2 Celtic games and I don't think they've been particularly great.
And scored 10
they've
goals.
Scored 10 goals. It's a frightening thought for not only Rangers but for the rest of the league when you're not playing particularly at your best and you've scored 10 goals in 2 games.
Yeah. Here's Stephen Robinson's take on the penalty.
The fourth official was fantastic with me. Matthew as well. You know, they're waiting on VAR. They're looking for help. That's what we allegedly pay this money for. I'll probably have a phone call on Monday morning again. But no, listen, I don't blame the referees. It's a decision VAR's made, and they deem it right.
Yeah, absolutely. How many calls has Stephen Robinson had on Monday morning saying we got it wrong, Ruffy? That's where I feel really sorry for him.
Yeah, I think the guys are right. I think of all the teams, he in particular seems to be the one on a Monday is always coming out with that take. And it's not an excuse, it's just as he sees it, you know, and he'll be thinking about how many points that he could have had if it hadn't been for VAR.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to be the person in the reception who goes, Stephen, it's Willie on the phone again for you. And then there is going to be a moment when Stephen goes, tell Willie to take a fine. We're going
Unless he's coming with a cheque to compensate us for the points that are dropped.
Or the points, which would be even better. We're going to talk about Hibs against Hearts, and Tam is going to absolutely wallow in it because I think we all called it correctly, but we'll discuss.
We all said 2-1 to Hibs.
No, I said 3-2 to Hibs, to be fair, but we still called it correctly, and we'll discuss it after the news.
Hello and welcome to your daily news headlines on Monday the 3rd of March, sponsored by Arnold Clark Rewards. Buy a car, download the app and get rewarded. Rangers have agreed a deal in principle with US investors in the potential takeover of the club. There'll be a period of due diligence while paperwork is drafted. Hibernian boss David Gray, speaking after the game, spoke of the impact of Heat and Sunshine on Leith, belted out for the second time in 2 weeks as they beat Hearts in the latest instalment of the Edinburgh Derby.
This has always been a song that people will say, why do you not play it all the time to get the players up for it? I think it's something that a lot of people say you need to earn it almost, you know, like the moments of having it, but they're so special when they come around, and I think that's what shows you the run we've been on. It shows you the momentum that's building, the connection between us and the fans.
Hearts midfielder George Grant spoke yesterday after the disappointing defeat at Easter Road as his side couldn't capitalise on his stunning equaliser in the first half.
Feeling at half time was that we could go on and win the game, of course, but yeah, it's probably not good enough from our side in the second half. It felt like we just didn't land on things and they did, and that's why they got the goal.
Those were your daily news headlines on Monday the 3rd of March, sponsored by Arnold Clark Rewards. Buy a car, download the app and get rewarded.
Thanks to Cara Henderson for that news bulletin, and of course, as ever, when you go to a game like that, I love Edinburgh derbies, Ruffy, and you know you wouldn't see what happened at the end of the game because you would have been ushered back in to finish with your little canopies and your prawn sandwiches. But the sunshine in Leith is just...
Well, unfortunately, in my 16 games, I didn't get a chance to hear sunshine in Leith.
And to be fair, Ruffy, they hadn't written it by then.
No, I think the first half could have went either way. Second half, you know, Hibs started dominating in the right places at the right time, and to win a derby game with a goal like that is just, it's just a thing you dream of.
Oh, it's fantastic. David Gray and Neil Critchley had their say after the game.
But our focus is all about catching that team in front of us, and that's not going to change anytime soon. We need to cement that place in the top 6. Today's win gives us a real, strengthens our hand on that front. But there's 4 games before the split now, 4 massive games, because all the teams, right the way down have got something to play for now. There's nothing going to between now and the split. Every game's going to be huge. But can we get as many points as we can going into that split and give ourselves the best possible chance to finish as high up the league as we can? But I think we've demonstrated now for a number of weeks that we're a really good side. We're in a good place, but there's still a lot of improvement to be done.
The players have had enough praise in the last few months. Today we'll get criticised, and rightly so, for the way we played in the second half. That was not us on the pitch. But look, we've taken 6 points from 9 this week. We'd have liked to have taken 9. We would like to have taken 6 points and maybe in a different way as well. But I say we've still got games to go to get to the top 6 and find us in the split, and that's our focus after a really important game in the cup next Friday night.
Well, it's big cup games for Celtic, Hibs and Hearts. And of course, Celtic first of all in the cup. Then they've got Kilmarnock, St Johnstone, Rangers and Dundee, Ruffy.
I think that's a good run. If we're looking at that fixture and say we could get at least 3 out of 4 of that, I think that would be enough to get them up there, you know, and then obviously get into the split. But I think the big game that they're going to be judged on is the Celtic game. If they can come through that with any kind of victory, I think that would really kick on the season.
Yeah, he's a legend at the moment. They're singing his name non-stop. You know, Davy Gray, and they're going through that. Interestingly enough, before we come on here, there was a song that the Pars fans had for you when you played there. Can you go through that song for us?
No. Right, we'll stick to Hibs, Peter.
Yeah,
no, listen, I watched the game. Listen, Sunshine and Leith at the end. I think it's the greatest football song in the world. I'm going to make a big statement here, Peter. I just think it's such a beautiful song, and it's, you know, it's Hibs. You know, it's Hibs in a nutshell. It's Leith, and I thought after the game it was fantastic, and Hibs thoroughly deserved it. A goal fit to win any game, Peter. I thought 15 games unbeaten. Hibs, I thought were poor in the first half, and then second half I just thought they looked fitter, they looked stronger. Down the left-hand side, Nicky Cadden, you know, fantastic game again. You know, it gave Taylor a real down in the second half, and listen, it was well deserved, and really in the end a comfortable win. I thought Hearts were really poor in the second half, and Hibs ran out worthy winners. So I think 7 points clear of Hearts, you know, sitting in third place at the minute, and you know, a nice wee run of games to go and finish. And listen, if David Gray finishes third this season after starting the way they started, you know, he's done a phenomenal job.
Chris says the greatest in the world. Behave. Thomas Burns says, who doesn't like sunshine on Leith? It's such a big call on football songs, but I have to tell you this, when you get a big win in a derby and you hear every stand singing it, it's hairs on the back of your neck, you know, listening to it.
Yeah, I think it's an emotional song, and I think it goes hand in hand just with big occasions and big performances. I think it just encapsulates a certain kind of spirit. But I think Tam's right. It's just Hibs. You just associate that song with Hibs and Leith, and you think of maybe going back the Scottish Cup final when they won it at Hampden when they beat Rangers a couple of years ago, and the whole stadium felt as though it was singing it. Yeah, I think it's a very emotive song, and I think it's certainly up there with one of the best football anthems.
Yeah, makes me think of Leith as well, Ruffy, my first flat in Edinburgh.
What a good memories there.
Mental.
The first time they sang it was Hibs against AEK Athens in the European game. That was the first time that I'm pretty sure that's the first time that Hibs sang it, and the atmosphere that night was incredible. And they had to wait a wee while longer. I think the League Cup final, I think John Collins won, they beat Kilmarnock 5-1.
Yeah.
I think it was the next time that I heard it, and then I heard it under Neil Lennon when they won the championship, and then obviously the Scottish Cup. So yeah, I think it probably emanated, was that 2001 when I was at Hibs against AEK Athens that night.
Here's a point that John makes. He says Hibs are on a brilliant run at the moment, and credit goes to the board for sticking with Gray, which I think is a great point for Johnny. He follows it up by saying, I hope Celtic beat them on Sunday though. But, you know, for every compliment you've got to take a little cuddle there, and then John belts them with a left hook. But nevertheless, it is a great point. Alan Stubbs was talking today ahead of those big cup games, and the man who guided Hibs to that Scottish Cup victory knows all about David Gray, the player and manager.
It's from where they were to find themselves in third position now. He deserves a lot of credit. He won't take it. Knowing David, he won't take it. He's quite a guy that will take a step back in terms of letting the players and everybody else take the credit, but he deserves credit. You know, just needs to smile a bit more when he win.
Stubbsy, he's forever etched in the history books as well, alongside David.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go to a club and you achieve something like that. You're remembered anytime you go back, which is always good. You know, if you can walk onto the park and feel quite confident your people are going to cheer you rather than boo. But no, it is something, you know, that if you've got a history with a club, if you're a footballer, it's great.
Is that personal experience you were speaking from there?
No, I'm still talking about Tom.
I think you're only a legend if you can add a Y to the end of your name, and you know it gets you the chance, you know, to.
Why?
Yeah, Ruffy, Stubbsy, you know, Wiltsy.
Those original nicknames.
All those original football nicknames. All those football nicknames. Just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Even Tammy doesn't work. Okay, so great credit to Hibs. By the way, just on a footnote to that, Tam, 3 brilliant goals. Mm-hmm. But Iredale was first to admit, he says most of the teammates were amazed that it ended up in the back of the net.
Yeah, it was just, he's probably hit 100 of them and one would go in, and just on the day it just sat up nice for him. He had it perfectly to beat a goalkeeper of the calibre of Craig Gordon from 25 yards with a volley. You know, it's got to be some strike. And as I said, I thought after that, you know, I was expecting a bit of a barrage from Hearts shooting into their own fans to get back into the game. They went down, you know, kind of limply, and Hibs ran out comfortable winners. So, you know, Hearts were on a good run at the minute as well, and I think Hibs have took 7 points out of 9 off of Hearts this season. So the tide is a turning in Edinburgh.
Yeah, okay. You're desperate to get that in, weren't you? Aberdeen 2, Dundee United 2. You know, at one point in that game, Ruffy, I thought to myself, oh my God, Aberdeen, what the hell's happening to them? But to their credit, they fought back. Yeah,
they certainly did. You know, they got the goal at the right time, and obviously being at home, you're pushing forward and trying to get another one. I think Dundee United will be disappointed in the time that they lost the other one. It was a bit of a scramble before it came into the box, and being a good striker, he was in the right place at the right time.
Alison, Tam sticking by Aberdeen for third. I said Hibs. Where are you?
I think Hibs might take third. I don't know that Aberdeen have been entirely convincing, whereas if you look at Hibs, they've got a real bit of momentum behind them now. A lot of confidence, a lot of belief, playing with a freedom almost. Yeah, I wouldn't be overly surprised if Hibs went and took third place.
Yeah, Jimmy Tilleen happy with the fight back, and of course Jim Goodwin himself quick to praise Sam Dolby and his goals this season.
We never stop believing, and when you keep pushing so many situations in the opponent's box, sooner or later it has to be a goal. And today we were close to score also in the last second of the game. So I'm proud of the team. How we're not so happy with the result, of course, but when you get 2 down in the first half, you also have to take the positive things that we could. It's an important point today, and how the game goes in the first half and how you react on that says a lot about this team.
Yeah, well, look, we just need to continue to put the supply into that area for him, because you know you back him in the air against anybody, and you know he's been in terrific form. You know, this has been a fantastic loan move for all parties, and you know, if we can help him be that top goal scorer come the end of the season, then that would be a hell of an achievement from an individual perspective for Sam.
Yeah, Dundee United battling away with Aberdeen and Hibs to see who can finish as the third force in Scotland. Ruffy, where were you? Are you in the Aberdeen camp or are you the Hibs?
I'm Hibs.
You're Hibs as well. In the end, Naismith, do you think he's done enough to maybe get a permanent deal?
I think he looks fitter now, Peter.
Yeah,
I think when he first came in, he looked sluggish. He didn't look fit at all. I think he's starting to play 90 minutes now. The manager's leaving him on, and I think that paid dividends at the weekend. I think he got his goal against Dunfermline in the Scottish Cup, and that just gave him a wee boost, you know. And he's been in good form since then, and 2 great finishes. First goal's a great finish, great taking across the keeper, and then gets himself in the 6-yard box for the second one. So yeah, I think Kevin looks back to the way he was, you know, probably before he went down to Millwall. He's not played a lot of football, and I think Aberdeen will get the benefit of a 100% fit Kevin Nisbet, and I think that will show in the coming weeks.
Okay, would you sign him? And of course, with every great season for Jim Goodwin, he has to come up with somebody who's going to replace Sam Dalby, because they're not going to get him next season.
I think that's exactly the headache that he'll have, and I think you know, it's finding a striker is like gold dust. Finding somebody that's going to hit you the 20 goals a season, it's like it's what everyone is looking for. Trying to source them, trying to find them. Yeah, it'll be a real headache for him this summer, I think.
Well, if you've got somebody like Simon Murray, he might be the difference between Dundee going down to the Championship and staying up. You need a goal scorer, and St Johnstone also have Mackenzie Kirk. They shared the points at the weekend. Tony Docherty happy to stop the rot, and Simo Valakari looking for the positives. They didn't lose.
Stop the rot was, the biggest objective today. Every game I set my team out to go and win the game, but it was really important that we didn't lose that game today. And I think in the first half, you know, as I say, St Johnstone I thought were better, but we still showed the character to get back in the game. And for me, you know, the honesty of the groups, you know, having an admission that the first half we had to get better. We did that in the second half, and I thought there was a real intent to go and win it. So again, I've got to praise that mentality of them, and I've got to, you know, agree with you there to say that we've stopped the rot.
I think it was a fair result. We played some good stuff. Dundee, they played some good stuff, and both teams, they had their moments. And our point of view, it has been very well documented. You know, our problem has been, you know, these matches when we cannot win. We have lost these matches, and now we could not win it. So we got the very strong points, you know, through the performance, you know, so pleased with that.
Okay, Simo Valakari at least saying if you're not going to win it, don't lose it. Now I'm looking at it, Ruffy, and if you have a look at the Scottish Premiership table and give us your thoughts on it, Ruffy, because the bottom end, 10 points between Hearts in 7th and St Johnstone 25 points in 12th. And I had St Johnstone gone at one point. Now I'm not so sure. I had a wee chat with your mate Stuart Taylor, and he thinks they might have enough to get away from it. He thinks that you know, when they get some players back, Joe Shaughnessy, huge to get him back. But you know, there'll be 2 or 3 other players come the split that might be the difference. And I think it's about, is it about just managers holding their nerve who are going to be in that bottom 6 battle?
Yeah, I think Tony Docherty hit the nail on the head there. That was a game that he could not afford to lose. I think there would have been a lot of pressure on him if they'd have went joint bottom of the league with St Johnstone. And after going 1-0 down, you think if they get beat again, he's under P. So they came back, they got a point, you know, and it's really, really tight. Kilmarnock are really slipping down. You know, they're not far off the bottom now. They're in a poor run of form, particularly away from home. So, yeah, I think St Johnstone have given themselves a fighting opportunity. You know, 3 points behind. I think they were 10 points behind at one point.
Yeah.
And people had them down. So, decent point for them. They pick up a point on Kilmarnock, who lost to Ross County, who we're just about to speak about. So, yeah, I think the bottom 3 is going to be the bottom 3. And I think Kilmarnock, you know, Dell's talking about getting in the top 6. I think they need to be looking over their shoulder at the minute.
Yeah, down the way.
Yep.
Yeah. Ruffy, do you share that view?
Yeah, I think you have to give all credit to St Johnstone. You were saying there they were 10 points away, and we were discussing when the split came, if they still were 10 points away, there was no way back. But they've clawed themselves back into it, 3 points. You know, and if it goes into the split and they're 3 points, they'll still think they've got a chance because they've proved against the teams that are in the bottom 6 that they can give a go. I was really impressed with the St Johnstone support. I thought it was fantastic turnout, you know, to get right behind a team that's been bottom of the league most of the season. They seem to have galvanised behind the scenes, and they're there to help the players on the park.
Yeah, Ali, I just cannot call it now. I mean, as Tam mentioned there, we're going to talk about Ross County. Ross County, at times, we were thinking, I had St Johnstone to get relegated, Ross County to be in the playoff, but you know, Don Cowie's absolutely getting a trick out of them, and at home, God, they're a tough team to beat.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that run just a couple of weeks back when they had the 3 away games where they took points to you, I think they look far more comfortable than the bottom 3 at the minute. I also had thought that they would go down. I thought St Johnstone would go down. I thought Ross County would be in the playoffs. Now I'm not quite so sure. I think they've maybe done enough just to keep themselves up. I think obviously it's early days yet. I think what is there 10 points between Ross County and St Johnstone still. I think, yeah. But certainly I think they'll look fairly comfortable at the minute. Kilmarnock I think will be dragged into it. I think 6 points off of St Johnstone.
I think Vassell going out's killed them.
I think the loss of Vassell has been absolutely huge, absolutely huge. And I think just even the start of the season was tough for them, like trying to manage European games and then coming in and losing players and just trying to adapt to that kind of schedule hindered them, and they've never really recovered since.
Who are you picking? Are you changing your mind? Are you going to stick with?
I'm changing my mind, I think.
Yeah?
I still think St Johnstone will go down. I'm not sure about Ross County being in the playoff. I think it might be Dundee.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at you, Ali, and I know your husband will have seen this before, this complete U-turn from you. And Ruffy, I don't even need to worry about looking. Your wife's seen this countless times. You change on this show every minute of the day.
I'm sticking with St Johnstone to go.
And
I think they've dodged it so many times. I've got to go this time.
Yeah.
With a good fight, obviously. I thought, looking at the games that Kilmarnock put enough into the game at Ross County, they should have come away with something in the second half. I mean, they threw everything at the Ross County in the last half hour of the game. I actually think the Ross County goalkeeper did save a kitchen sink. it was that one-way traffic, but Dundee or Kilmarnock.
Yeah. Go on, give us one, Ruffy.
Kilmarnock.
Yeah. So St Johnstone and Kilmarnock for you.
Kilmarnock to be in the playoff.
Hey, it's amazing how it's, middle of the season they're talking about Derek McInnes possibly being in the running for a Rangers job at one point again, and now we're looking at it and thinking he could be in the trap door.
No, I'm going to go. I've been consistent all season, and a few strange looks early in the season about Dundee.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be in the playoff. Dundee. I think St Johnstone will go down. I think Dundee will be in the playoff.
The good thing about you, Tam, is, some people accuse me of just slightly favouring some of my pals. If I say they're a good lad, I get absolutely battered on here. If I say it's my friend, they accuse me of being biased. But you, even if it's your pal, even if it's your friend,
it's business, isn't it?
You slaughter them.
It's business.
Yeah.
Get a finger out, Stan.
Yeah, absolutely. Dundee. To be fair, when Tony Docherty was in here, Ali, he told them, Well, I told him because
the colour just drained out my face.
But they're going to have to. They're going to have to do something.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the point you made there about stopping the rot and just not getting beat, just taking something from the game is an important one. But I think they've left themselves a lot to do in a short space of time now.
Oh, Don says Dundee relegated St Johnstone in the playoff.
Wow.
Don, I couldn't rule that out. Kaiser says the Kelly Pie to go down.
The other question is if the second bottom team, are they good enough to beat what's coming for the championship?
It'd be interesting one if Kelly finished second bottom and United.
Yeah, I don't
That would be tasty.
I think of the two teams that are in of the three that will battle it out for the long road forward, I think Partick and maybe Ayr will fall foul. I have Livingston to go to the playoff, Ruffy, and Falkirk to win it.
Yeah, well, Falkirk are stuttering a wee bit now, you know, that in the form that they were all the way through the season, but that's going to happen to most teams. Livy are dogged, they're in there, and I think Ayr United are getting some good results, so yeah. I think it'll be right to the end.
Yeah, okay. Just before we go, got to mention this because it would be remiss of me not to. Manchester United are ranked rotten.
I mean, a perfect example of that's not the manager. 10 Cats had a great reputation, come in, they were hopeless. Ruben Amorim's
Ten
Hag and Ruben Amorim's come in and he was the hottest manager in European football. Won the league with Sporting Lisbon, doing fantastically well. Every club wanted him. They're hopeless. Just a squad of players that are spineless and could possibly get another manager sacked before the season's out.
I mean, it just defies belief what you're witnessing. This is a United side that is so far away.
Man United is a club, Peter.
Oh.
Off the pitch, sacking people and redundancies.
And all the chat that you're
it's
hearing.
It's an absolute mess of a club from top to bottom.
It really is. The structure's all wrong. Isn't it amazing how a group of people with David Gill as the chief executive and Sir Alex Ferguson in complete harmony with each other on a strategy, on the way forward, on what to do, even on what to do when everybody is talking about the noisy neighbours, and he still comes up with a signing that transforms it and United win the title. Now, nobody would believe how long it's gone, Ali.
I think it's been a real fall from grace. I think on and off the pitch. I think when you talk about a change in culture that's there to see, at Old Trafford. I think the kind of stories you're hearing about what's going on behind the scenes and the penny pinching that's going on, and then you see on the
guys getting 300 grand a week and they're sacking.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're saying, oh, it's it's appalling. I think again, when you talk about mentality and culture, it's a club that looks unrecognisable from where it was to again where it considers itself in the position it should be in.
The other thing as well, the Man United supporters feel really cheated because they've always had a superstar that they could hang on to.
Yeah.
Rooney, Ronaldo.
They've always had somebody, Cantona, somebody who entertains them and digs them out a hole.
Yeah.
They've never had that for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Ruffy. It's just a sad state of affairs in that situation. If you were going to pick somebody to win the FA Cup, is anybody going to stop Man City?
No, with what's left, I don't think.
Aston Villa.
I think some of the teams are punching way above their weight.
Yeah. Villa?
I fancy Villa to win the FA Cup.
I know, I wondered about Villa too, just given the kind of season that Man City are having.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I must admit I can't see anybody. I can't see anybody in what's left. Ruffy, I agree with you. I think Man City. I would go for them. Obviously, I think PLZ Soccer itself and many other big broadcasting companies and programmes will still be debating in the next 10 years when the 115 charges are going to be addressed, Ali. But
their lawyers wouldn't have read them all by that time.
Well, exactly. Will they still be kicking it down the
Probation.
park?
50-year probation.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we go, it's been interesting. Give us your thoughts. Who you think is going to win the FA Cup? Do you really care? Also, just before we go, a big week for Rangers, Fenerbahce. If Barry can somehow get a tune out of them, then maybe Rangers, if they can keep that tie alive for the return leg, it would be fantastic for them.
Yeah, and regardless of how poor Rangers have been, you just can't write them off in Europe. We've been here so many times where you think Rangers are playing poorly and they go and win away from home in Europe. It's a totally different game. Pressure's completely off the Rangers. Nobody expects them to win. And Barry will go and set his team up to be hard to break down and keep the tie alive. But it's just interesting to see the special one v the staunch one.
Yeah, it is actually. It's going to be an interesting head-to-head on it. Ruffy, I said last week on the show, and I'm always out to be caned on this programme. I said last week in the show that I thought Barry could engineer 2 wins domestically because of the games that he had coming up and maybe keep the tie alive. But as I look at a group of players that clearly, I cannot believe how bad Rangers are. I don't know what's going to happen when you come up against someone like Mourinho. I think if this is 3, it could be 2-3 goals because Rangers are so bad.
Yeah, I think we've said that every time they go into a tie, but as Tam said, for some reason, I don't know what it is, they seem to dig out something. I think the best they could get over there would be a draw. A draw would be happy if they could. Are
you tipping them for a draw?
Not on the evidence of the weekend there, but on the evidence of their European ties, I wouldn't put it past.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose 2-0, Ruffy.
I'll go one each.
What? I just said to you going for a draw and you said no, not on the evidence of the weekend.
No, not on the evidence, but I think they might get it. Well, you know what I mean.
My God Almighty, you can't beat this punditry, can you? Mother of God Almighty.
Well, I'm only saying on the evidence, but that doesn't mean
your wife
that
Maggie,
evidence is going to go into that
Maggie
game.
Deserves an award. Because God knows how she gets an argument out of you where you hold an opinion. So Ali,
you should say that because I went to the shops the other day for bacon and I come back with sausages.
Ali, I know. Ali, what about you?
No, I think I don't see anything other than a comfortable home win. I really don't. I think
it's comfortable.
3-0.
3-0.
3-0 Fenerbahce.
3-0's emphatic, Ali.
I just think Rangers look insipid. I think they look frail. I think there's no spark about them, no real fight about them, and I think a team like Fenerbahce will exploit that.
Yeah. Tam. Comfortable 3-0.
Honestly, I've so many times in the last season or two where I've thought I fancied a team to beat Rangers strongly in Europe, and it's not happened. And a lot of people think I'm going to go for one each.
What?
I'm going to go for one each.
Yeah.
I just think Rangers, the pressure's off. Pressure's off Rangers. And I think you'll see a better performance.
Okay, do you agree with that? Give us your thoughts on Fenerbahce, how you think it's all going. I hope you enjoyed the programme. The Journals is on this week as well. We'll have the Footballers Football Show, Tam's very own show as per the terms of his contract. And of course, we'll have a special guest for you as well. Lots coming up over the next couple of weeks that I think you're going to enjoy the content. 7 days a week, wherever you are, we are. We're delivering the content for you, and we're up against the big boys, but we're on every day with reporters out getting the reaction from managers and players as well. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and come and join the football family. Thank you for watching and listening, and have a wee look at our shop as well, and you might get yourself one of those sweatshirts or some of the Legends t-shirts.
The PLZ Soccer shop is open for business. You can purchase one of our stunning line of Icons t-shirts featuring legends of the game from across the world. Designed by award-winning artist Jim Scullion, they are exclusive to PLZ Soccer. Our Maestro training tops are ideal for sport and casual wear in the colour of your favourite team. From Pirlo to Pele, we've got you covered. Visit the PLZ Soccer shop now by clicking the link below.